Yes? See, she conceded. This trip to see your family in Mexico is my present to you. It's long overdue. You said yourself not 60 seconds ago that the holidays are meant for families. You have not seen your own for several years. Your mother is almost 90. You cry every time a letter comes from her. After all these years, I get homesick, that's true. I am a very emotional person. Not like some people, she said pointedly. Luke ignored the jibe. Well, this is your chance to see for yourself how your mother is doing. Now stop dawdling and go before you miss your plane and before your brother busts our eardrums with that horn of his. Consuela still appeared torn between duty to him and a longing to see her mother. Finally, she heaved a sigh of resignation and buttoned her coat. I will go, she said grudgingly, but I will worry the whole time. You are alone too much, Niño. It had been a long time since anyone had thought of Luke Adams as a little boy. Unfortunately, Consuela would probably never get the image out of her head, despite the fact that he was over 6 feet tall, operated a thriving ranch, and had built himself a house twice the size of the very lavish one he'd grown up in. Ever since, she began. Enough, Luke said in a low, warning tone that silenced her more quickly than any shout would have. Tears of sympathy sprang to her eyes, and she wrapped her plump arms around him in a fierce hug that had Luke wincing. For a 60-year-old woman, she was astonishingly strong. He didn't want her weeping for him, though. He didn't want her pity. And he most definitely didn't want her dredging up memories of Eric, the brother who died barely 7 months ago, the brother whose death he'd caused. Go, he said more gently. I will see you in the new year. She reached up and patted his cheek, a gesture she dared only rarely. Te amo, niño. Luke's harsh demeanor softened at once. I love you too, Consuela. The truth of it was that she was about the only human being on the face of the earth to whom he could say that without reservation. Even before Eric's death had split the family apart, Luke had had his share of difficulties with his father's attempted ironclad grip on his sons. His mother had always been too much in love with her husband to bother much with the 4 boys she had borne him, and Luke had battled regularly with his younger brothers, each of them more rebellious than the other. Eric had been a year younger, only 31 when he'd died. Jordan was 30, Cody 27. Consuela had been the steadying influence on all of them, adults and children. Te amo, mi amiga, Luke said, returning her fierce hug. Consuela was still calling instructions as she crossed the porch and climbed into her brother's car. For all he knew, she was still shouting them as the car sped off down the lane to the highway, kicking up a trail of dust in its wake. Alone at last, he thought with relief when Consuela was finally gone from view. Blessed silence for 2 whole weeks. His cattle were pastured on land far from the main house and were being tended by his foreman and a crew of volunteers from among the hands. The ranch's business affairs were tied up through the beginning of the new year. He had no obligations at all. He opened a cupboard, withdrew an unopened bottle of Jack Daniel's whiskey from the supply he'd ordered, ostensibly to take along as gifts to all the holiday parties to which he'd been invited. He pulled down a nice, tall glass, filled it with ice, and headed for his den and the big leather chair behind his desk. Uncapping the bottle, he poured a shot, doubled it, then shrugged, and filled the glass to the rim. No point in pretending he didn't intend to get blind, stinking drunk. No point in pretending he didn't intend to stay that way until the whole damned holiday season had passed by in a blur. Just